welcome again to the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. Clearly, I am not David Warburton. My name is James Kendall, and I'm joined as ever by my good friend and industry colleague, Mr. Ian Storey. How has your week been, my friend?
My week has been very good, James. As you know, it has been the TCA Mastermind in the capital of the North, Manchester, my old stomping ground, which I love. So we've had 2 days up there, haven't we, planning what we're doing at TCA and then delivering the Mastermind yesterday, which went really well. And then on top of that, back in estate agency land, it's been good. 3 solid listings since we last spoke at 750, 900 and 1.5. We've got offers that are close to being agreed on 5 properties as well, which
nice
should get agreed. Phil is beavering away. I know that there's a couple of basically agreed and there's 3 that are nearly there. And then I just checked in on how many vals. Jesus, we've got so many valuations being booked. We've booked so far this month 29 valuations, and it's the 12th of March.
Some from up north might say that's incredible.
Incredible. And we don't, as you know, sell lower end. So this is not about loads of 200 grand terraces. You know, these are all mid to higher end. We've had an amazing result from our January not on the market letter that we send out.
Nice.
I calculated last week £14 million worth of property just off that one letter, and nice. that was last week. So since then, there's been more booked, and a really, really good result off our on the market as well. Better, probably the best result we've had. I'm going to one this morning at 1.75. It's been on a year with another agent. You know, classic. Under-serviced, overpriced.
Under-marketed, yeah.
Yeah, so I love those. So really, JK, it's good. And then, of course, the 3 of us are off to London, aren't we, to do some filming as well tomorrow?
Yeah, special podcast mini-series as well.
Yeah.
Which will be fun.
So that's good. I know you had a bit of a nightmare journey home yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, somebody decided that they didn't want to be with us anymore and went in front of the train, which, again, is... Thing is, at the time you're annoyed because you're delayed, but also you know the human element of you is like making me feel a bit sick actually, because I was like, how bad must it be for someone to do that?
And it's who they're leaving behind, isn't it?
That's what I mean. I thought to myself, look, I'm annoyed that I'd left at 6 o'clock and I should have been home by 8, but there's a family that there's lots of families that are going to be impacted. The family of the person that has been that's gone in front of the train. There's the person that is driving the train as well. There's the emergency services because they obviously have to clear that up. You don't know who or what it is, but there's always a story behind it. So when at first I was like, because I've been sat there for an hour and they hadn't told us what had happened. Just sound like we'd hit a load of stones or something like that, and the emergency brakes come on, and. You do obviously think the worst, don't you? Sometimes you think, could it be that? Because it's not exactly uncommon, but so it wasn't good. But so I'm running on about 2 hours sleep, but I'm just grateful that I got to come home to my family and wake up with my kids this morning. So exactly. It is what it is. But no, on a more positive note, great couple of days in Manchester. I really enjoyed delivering the mastermind and the interaction with the room and adding value to people and just really, I suppose, sometimes taking a big weight off some people's shoulders. When you actually unpack it, or there were certain members in the room that we won't name, but obviously they've been going through their own personal journeys in the last sort of 6 to 8 months, and having seen that person in December and seeing what they're like now. Yeah. They look like a completely different person.
Amazing.
Which is a really good feeling. And I know this is a business that we run, but what a great feeling! Like, I don't know how, I know you're the same because we were talking about it, but what a great feeling to know that you've had an impact on someone's life like that. Yeah. To again, take the weight off their shoulders and see them thrive in doing what they're good at.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll come on to sort of debrief what happened yesterday, but some of the improvements people have made to their fee and average property value and stuff is just amazing. Yeah, so it's really good.
There's one member that again has added 30% onto their bottom line, like in the last 8 months. It's incredible. There's others that have doubled their fee. There's others that have gone. What was that? That was the one that was like they were charging just under 1%. They're now consistently getting 1.5%. Their average value was $450. Now their average value is $850.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the maths there alone. And again, another thing I do get a buzz out of as well is that, that particular person who shan't be named, seeing their journey, and where they came from when, they first started with us, a little while back, and just seeing them thrive and be confident and like do really good videos and just, completely like you changing people's lives really, it's humbling sometimes. And that's what I think I get a buzz out of sometimes when I come away, obviously it's high energy, but, and I just think there's more to life than money sometimes, and seeing those sort of like improvements in people's lives makes you think, I think I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's the community, isn't it? Of people who get together every quarter and we keep in touch on our WhatsApp group and help and support each other, and then to see the results. Because ultimately we're all here to, grow profitable businesses, aren't we? That give us a certain lifestyle, and that's great to see that happening. But equally, the community and the sort of comradeship, I think, is.
We've got really good people there. I mean, we had a new member, didn't we, join just before the mastermind, and they said after the mastermind, like, what a great day and what great people as well. Like, they feel like they've found their tribe, kind of thing. In fairness, they did know quite a few people in the room already anyway, which I think was a big help. But those that they didn't, and again, it was great to have again another chat. A light bulb went off in one member's head. We were literally chatting candidly for about 5 minutes in one of the breaks, and I just said to them, why don't you just do this? Why wouldn't you do this? I don't want to go into the detail. They'll know who they are and I know what I'm talking about. But if they listen to this, I think they do every week. But they're an agent that, again, has doubled their fee. Their average value's gone up. They're launching an amazing premium brand as well that they've just had a really mint website done for. And they're flying, and it's great to see their flight. Like, it's good to see good people doing good, if you know what I mean. That's one thing I really get a buzz from. Anyway, the rest of my week, estate agency land-wise, we're not quite on 29, unfortunately. We're on 9, I think, so far for the month, which is all right. I could take it. They're decent to be fair. I've got one today, 5,000 square foot new build on an acre and a bit plot, with absolutely nothing to compare it to and absolutely no information about it online. All I've got is the val notes, which is one thing we went through actually. Don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole. We'll break bits down, but the quality of the calls, inbound calls, was something that we discussed at the mastermind, and how well your team deal with inbound leads and inbound calls can ultimately, it's the start of the process. We had that whole 2% mindset. And, what does a 2% inbound call look like? What does 2% feedback look like? What does 2% communication look like? It's more than just, there is no, and I think we've joked about it before, there's no secret script where you sit in the living room and say, Expelliarmus, and they go, excellent, I'll pay 2%. But you've got to be a 2%, you've got to be worth 2%, and you've got to commit to that throughout the process. So sometimes you may list a house, and it may all go in a week, and it may complete in 8 weeks, and you think, that was easy. But when it doesn't, and it's a 6 to 8, 12-month journey, it's about showing up every week, whether you're updating them on WhatsApp or speaking to them on the phone. And that whole segment we had on the trusted advisor part, privately available as well. I think that's the thing that we're going to implement.
Yeah, I was going to mention that we had a whole section towards the end, didn't we, about it's sort of a combination of getting commitment from a client that doesn't want to go straight on and how you do that. And then it moved on to selling off market, didn't it? So having off market opportunities for buyers, but then also, generating sellers that are happy to take viewings, and sort of go in your top drawer, as it were. And I think that resonated with a lot of people because we've all been successful at that, haven't we? In in doing
Oh,
that.
100%, yeah. I think a big part of that section as well was the closing part. And what I found interesting when we were talking about closing for the business was how many heads were nodding.
Yeah.
When, but and the thing is, we've all been there. We can all be our own worst enemies. It's very easy to do a gentle close sorry, not a gentle close, just not close and be gentle. And say, I'll get in touch in a few days, and and sort of skirt around it. Whereas some of the sort of techniques we were going through in terms of moving things forward and upping your conversion rate, and I thought, there's a few sort of heads that nodded and a few light bulbs that went off in the room, and I think I'd like to think that again that made a real big impact. It was only a small section of what was a really action-packed and amazing day. I mean, we need to give Michelle her flowers here as well for that culture section, because that was quality, wasn't it?
Oh, amazing, yeah. And I know I say this every time, but she has been instrumental in stories and how we've developed the culture that we've got massively. When I think back now, it feels easy now to have the culture that we've got and the way we do things, but it's her that helped us to put the steps in place over the last probably 3 years to get us to where we are now.
Well, I can see that every day I spend with Michelle and the time we spend together, and when we're putting the agenda together for the mastermind, I can see why Stories has been so successful and how she's been part of the journey. And it's not taking anything away from you, because there's a lot of hard graft that goes in from you and the team. Yeah. But it's just about, sometimes it's about having that business, not business brain is the wrong word, but like sometimes it's having somebody to tap into the business brain and challenge the way you're thinking, and get you to really think about your behaviors as a business owner. Because let's be honest, the majority of us probably listening to this, and the majority of us that own estate agency businesses, are generally great estate agents. That's what we do. But we just happen to run a business. And sometimes it's just having that help from somebody to plug in and make you think like a business owner. Because you and I both know, when we've chatted before, give us not even a best price guide. I think if push came to shove, stick us in front of a client and there's a good chance we'll convert.
Yeah,
because we just we're good at what we do.
It's easy to fall into the trap of just assuming that whoever you employ will have the same values and want to do things the same way that you think it should be done, and that just is not the case. You have to, and you can't just tell people what you want doing. You have to show them. You have to get their buy-in as to why it's the right thing to do, and that's the process we've been through. And I think having someone or something external to your business is so important. Trying to do it yourself, the team have really benefited from having Michelle's advice and things that she's put in place, and having that external element, I think, is really important to lean on if you need it. It makes a massive difference. And then trying to bring the team. I always try and bring the team on those days if possible, at least one of them, two of them, just because they can see, what goes on and what goes behind it. And I think if you can show your team that,
I thought Phil's call was excellent, by the way. What great. The thing is, it's great for him to learn and be in the room and experience a few bits and pieces. I'm sure he went away with a few nuggets and picked a few bits and pieces up. But what a great thing, like for him personally, to go, my boss Ian thinks I'm great, and he's now shown everyone, all these other high performing agents, that how good I am because I've made this call. Like that must have made him feel really good. Probably a little bit embarrassed when you played the call in front, but I said to him, Phil, you're used to singing in front of people, mate. It can't be that bad. But I think Matt probably got something out of it as well. There was a few bits and pieces in between where he's picked up a few bits along the way. And it's just sometimes we run these events, and sometimes I'll come away and go, yeah, we need to do more of that again. Like you just
massively,
You get so focused on being good at what you do that sometimes something will come up and you go, do you know what? Actually, in fairness, we haven't done that for a while. Because it's like we're saying with the vows and buyer letters and stuff. When you've got 21 vows coming in the week, your focus is, like you say, not to work on the business, but to work in the business when that's coming. Because we won't go down the rabbit hole too deep, but when you've got like the war with Iran going on and people asking questions and swap rates going up and possible like turbulent economy on the horizon, people are asking questions, and it's very easy to get sucked into the negativity of it all. And it was great, when we had breakfast yesterday morning, something that really stuck with me, because obviously I was talking about this, and I've always tried to stay away from the news, but just recently, I've been sucked in a bit more with everything that's going on. And I remember you saying about deleting that the news app, that's defaulted installed, and on the tabs on your iPhone, because at the end of the day, and you guys are absolutely right, none of us can control it, right?
No, none of us can control anything really outside of our immediate sphere.
Yeah.
So there's just no point worrying about it. And Michelle said, one of the things that Michelle said when we were having that conversation really resonated with me as well, which is that you've just got to have hope and faith, because there's nothing else you can do. You got to be as positive as you can, look after your loved ones, and be a good and honest person, and just hope that everything's okay. There's not a lot else you can do. So I think just to touch back on the culture thing, I think we probably spent about an hour and a half on that, didn't we, with our members, something like that. And it really resonated. A lot of stuff really resonated with them, and it sort of took me back 4 years before we really started to implement this properly. And I think it has an enormous impact on your bottom line. Absolutely enormous impact on your bottom line. I forget what the quote is that Michelle used. It was something like, your culture is what happens when you're not there.
I think that's Heather Staff said that, but yeah.
There you go. Was it Heather? Yeah.
And Heather.
And it's just so true, isn't it? It is so true. And you can get so busy, caught up just doing the day-to-day estate agency. It's so important to put that extra time in, to block out the time and get that right. Otherwise, you'll have a merry-go-round of people you employ coming and going. And growth is a lot harder because you're not there all the time. You can't answer every call. You can't reply to every email. You've got to know it's sort of self-policed.
Yeah, you've got to be able to trust your team. I think one thing that is really important for me, and it was something I got a lot better on the last 12 months, was doing regular one-to-ones and speaking to people. And the last one we did, because I knew we were doing the culture audit, I made sure that I tailored the culture audit around, the one-to-ones around the culture audit.
Okay.
And I was just interested to hear some of the feedback, because what I do like about my team is that I do feel like they'll be honest, because in a one-to-one environment, whether I like it or not. And the sort of overarching sort of feedback was that it's a good place to be.
That's good.
What would you say about your colleagues, kind of thing? And so one of the questions was on there, and I'll fully admit that I use Claude for this, the AI service. So every month, basically, I get Claude to generate me a new one-to-one template. So I've plugged in a few things that I want, and basically what happens is, it will suggest me different topics to cover. I'll pick one, then I'll start tweak the questions and bits and pieces, but then it just spits out a template for me. And what I get the guys to do is they come into the one-to-one 5 minutes before we do the one-to-one. They fill in the form. It's not that intensive. It's 2-3 pages with a couple of lines. And it just gives us a good basis to make sure we cover bits and go through it. And then at the end, there's sort of action points, and I'll then follow up with an email afterwards. And it was interesting to hear, the banter. People have got your back. It's a bit like a family. We work hard. We're proud of what we do, and this, that, and the other. And it's nice to hear that people are proud to work at JK, if you know what I mean. And I did deep dive a little bit more, and I just said, what is it that makes you feel that way? And just sometimes the houses we sell, the marketing we do, the reviews we get, the perception of the company, they're all things that people like, if that makes sense. There's a few bits that we're working on that it's not all positive. There's a few bits in there, but again, there's no business that is 100%. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that my business is 100% perfect, because it's not. There is. But that's why you do the one-to-ones, right? So that what's going on. I remember I did some work with JP, 6 years ago, I think it was, and whilst we weren't really aligned on our estate agency journey, from a business and management point of view, some of the things that I got off him were invaluable. Cost me a lot to find it out, but it is what it is. And regular one-to-ones are important, because gets you a steer on your team. But also, talking about culture, I can't remember what the arrows were off the top of my head on the screen because I've had 2 hours sleep. But sometimes the culture is the conversations that you're avoiding as well, and what what you'll accept.
Yeah.
And I think I said it in the room that it's a bit like food dye in water. If you drop it in and you let it go, it just spreads and seeps into everything.
What you tolerate, what gets tolerated.
Exactly. So if it then
one thing that we talked about was lateness, wasn't it? Because it's quite a common thing, and we've all had issues with that, I'm sure, with employing people. But it's nipping that in the bud early, because that's a classic thing, even if it's a couple of minutes, that can piss off other team members who are in early every day.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse, is there? There's no excuse for being 3 minutes late. You should be 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
There is no excuse at all. So I think little things like that can get tolerated in a lot of businesses. I think a lot of owners are scared of raising things. They don't want to have the awkward conversations, but it's so important to do that. Otherwise it spreads, like you say, it is like food dye. It spreads and it becomes toxic, and then it becomes a way bigger thing than it was ever in the first place.
100%. Doesn't need to be. Again, like one thing you're really good at is nipping things in the bud.
Yeah.
I've picked that up off you, and it's something that I've had to get better at, because I don't know what I want to say here, but I sometimes have been guilty of letting a few things go at times, and then again, it's feedback that I got in the one-to-ones that rather than nipping things in the bud, what I tend to do is I let it go for a week or so, and then I just come down like doubly hard.
Yeah.
And
that is what can happen. We've all been there, though, but like I've got better at that. But there's a couple of people who in the past we've had to let go, and I let them go far too late.
Yeah.
I should have been letting them go months earlier.
Yeah.
And it's so much harder to do when they've been there for
the thing is, you get to know people as well, don't you?
Yeah.
The thing is, and I think the other thing I was going to say from a leadership point of view is, there's people that love to post on LinkedIn and give selfies with their team and this, that, and the other. The classic thing is like people don't want to slide in their office, right? They don't want a slide on a football table isn't culture. It's about how your team shows up for you, but also how you show up for your team. Yeah. So if you've got a parent that's in, a single parent, for example, in the office, and their 2 kids are off sick, showing up for them and saying, "Let's cool, we'll deal with it, we'll sort it," or if someone has an accident or something and they're going to struggle to work, it's showing up for them. A family member, pardon me, is taken ill, showing up for them. And I think that's where you win and lose culture as well. Is that, and it's like all things in business. I always feel that you show people, you don't tell people, because anyone can talk the talk, but not everyone can walk the walk.
Oh yeah, hugely. You've got to show them. You've got to lead the way and show them. Like, we don't have a policy. I know some companies have a policy where you can't use your personal phone in work hours. Like we don't have that policy. They have their personal phones there. They know if they're getting a call off their mum or their daughter or something serious with family, or even if it's not that serious, they know they can take the call always.
Yeah. And it's give and take, though, isn't it? At the same time, if you then need someone to cover a 6:30 appointment at night or something, or someone needs to go to the doctor, again, it is give and take. You'll always get, and that's where you do need to nip things in the bud sometimes, because sometimes you can give an inch and people can take a mile.
Yeah,
but it's about showing up for each other, because I always say to my guys, look, we probably spend more time together than we do with our own families, arguably. Like in the office all day. So A, it's important for us to have a good relationship, but B, it's about showing up for each other, and being a team. So if you need to go to get a blood test, or you need to pop to the dentist, that's fine, you do that. But then equally, if there's a slightly later shoot or a viewing that needs to happen at 6:30 at night, cool. It is what it is. It's give and take, isn't it?
Yeah, it's give and take. Yeah, and it does work. It does work well if you can get into the habit. You've got to trust people as well. You got to, we're adults, we're not kids. You've got to give people. You've got to put your trust in people. And obviously, if they take the piss, then it needs sorting out. But you do find that if you put your trust in people, that on the whole, most people are decent, kind, caring people. Do you know what I mean?
And most people are good, aren't they?
I think a lot of businesses. I certainly was guilty of this in the early days of having a business. suspicious, that they weren't.
Know why you were suspicious though?
Go on.
Probably because you were a little shit when you were 20, and you were an estate
exactly,
agent.
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been there and wrote the book.
Of course, yeah, that's right.
I know what I was like as a piss-taking 20-year-old. Yeah. So I think you always you're looking into that, aren't you? What someone might be doing, even though if it's not sinister, you're also thinking to yourself, well, back when I was 20, I called in sick on a Saturday because I was absolutely hanging from the night before. And it was nothing to do with a sickness bug. It was alcohol sickness bug, self-inflicted. But I think the teams and culture that we've got. I don't, I'd be very surprised if that happens at your place, and it doesn't happen at mine either.
No, I don't think it does. No,
it does need to be self-policed. And the other thing I would take from that today, from that yesterday, that a lot of people, I think, do struggle with is autonomy.
Yeah,
and their team's autonomy.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that, wasn't there? How people get asked questions all the time. And I've always, again, with Michelle's help and guidance, I've really, really tried over the course of years to push back on team members when they ask me a question.
What would you do?
Answering the question, what would you do?
Yeah,
and they'll say, I would do this. I'll say, well, that's the right thing to do. You don't need to ask me that question again.
Yeah.
And if you can really get into the habit of that and let them make mistakes, they will make mistakes because I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So you've got to let them make mistakes as well.
Otherwise, you're never going to be able to step away. No, there's always things that you will personally need to deal with. There's always a client that wants you or wants to deal with you. And that's fine. That is what it is. But, we need to get some milk and there's no milk and there's no money in the petty cash tin. Should I pay it out of my own account and will you pay me back? Of course. Just get on with it,
Don't ask me questions like that. So I think things like that are important. And then I know we're doing a slightly short episode today, so I just wanted to touch back before we finish on how many members had increased their fee and increased their average property value.
Yes.
We sort of talked about it earlier on, but we all know the member in question, without mentioning names, who's doubled his fee since joining TCA. We've got another member, she has increased her fee from around 1 to 1.5, which is just huge, isn't it? And then
50%, isn't it?
Amazing. And then loads of other members who've done similar things. And I just think that's
one particular, again, the relatively newish member that we've known has been a long time listener. Again, instant increase by 33%. I thought his analogy for the hotel, by the way, was excellent. I love that. Brilliant. I love all of the members, but I love when he speaks. I'm like, there's always something that's golden that's going to come out of his mouth. He's such a great guy. What a great member! He's such a lovely guy as well. What a lovely guy. He was just saying about the experience when he was actually delivering it to his team about the 5-star hotel. Do you remember the analogy we made about the 5-star hotel when the difference between the two hotels isn't how good the swimming pool was, it's the 5 touch points that the client experienced between the two. And it really made me think, when we stayed in Manchester and the difference staying between the Malmaison, the Dakota, and the what's that other one, Mercure. If hotels were estate agents, the Mercure would be $999 plus VAT.
Yeah, that's right.
The bathroom, the carpets, it's literally like a static caravan in a high-rise, isn't it?
They've all got a bed. They've all got beds, haven't they? And windows, and aircon. Well, if you're lucky. Well, exactly. And every estate agent sells houses.
Yeah.
So we all do that same basic thing.
Yeah.
It's everything else on top, and then that's everything we've been talking about, isn't it? Your culture, your consistency, all the extra touch points that you should deliver every single time. That's what sets you apart and enables you to get 2%.
That's what I mean. You can fall asleep in a hotel that's £40 a night, or you can fall asleep in a hotel that's £180 a night. And you notice the difference, immediately when you walk in, the difference between have they got a doorman or door person, 2026, have they got a door person there to, show you or take, they took your concierge, they took your jacket and your case off you, and someone checked you in. When you walk in, you can smell the reed diffuser, the fire's going. It's quite moody inside, as you walk in.
Feels great.
that Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. And Rory, if you're listening to this, mate, you're not, but if you were, like, I am responsible for at least 10 more book sales, because honestly, that book and that hotel, just if you walk into that Mercure, you walk into the Dakota, the difference between the two, like, even when you get in the lift, you walk into your room, like, there's like a, what do they call it, Bayliss and Harding little gift on the side with like some hand cream and this, that, and the other. It's just, everything is, and again, relating it back to agency, they've both got beds in, they've both got showers in, but and they both serve breakfast. But it's
the difference.
Again, are you a Dakota or are you a Mercure? And maybe an exercise for you next time, guys, if you're listening to this. Next time you stay in a hotel somewhere, like, book the cheapest hotel for £40, book the Travelodge or the Mercure in Manchester. Can recommend that. And then book something like a Dakota. And think about what it's like to be in a estate agency and relate that back to what 1% or 999 or Purple Bricks looks like, and what does Stories or JK look like? What does your premium agency feel like? Are you undercharging? Do you need to up your fees? Are you a premium agent compared to a premium hotel? So that probably seems like a good way to leave it. Do you think?
Without getting sued, maybe we might get sued, but
what do you mean? Why would we get sued?
No. What I was going to say was, could we call the podcast "Are You a Dakota" or "Are You a Mercure"? Or is that?
Oh, right, yeah. Are you what kind of hotel are you?
Yeah, there you go. There's your podcast.
There you go. Right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for bearing with us last week. We had a few technical issues with the audio last week, so the pod only got released yesterday. So last week's pod went out yesterday. This one will go out today. And we will see you, as always, next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.